Let's see this Hawaii Kai home with a sacred loft above the garage.
If you caught the last video, you know why we're here. I had listings in Kailua and Hawaii Kai running at the same time recently, and I kept seeing the same buyers at both sets of open houses, the same names on the sign-in sheet, just a different zip code each weekend. This is video 2 of that comparison, and this house is a completely different story than the last one. That one was a full renovation, gutted and redone before it ever hit the market. Every finish entirely new. This one kept its character. It's a 1973 home that's been refreshed, not rebuilt, real updates layered on top of the original. And that difference is going to matter more than you'd think once we get into the numbers. I actually covered Kalama Valley on this channel back in April. A different home, a few doors from this one. Back then, this neighborhood was about as hot as Hawaii Kai gets. Homes were selling in 10 days, not the island average of 3 weeks. Sellers were getting 101% of asking. There were only 2 new listings in this entire neighborhood that month, and only 4 homes for sale total. For context, island-wide that same month, the median single-family price was right around $1.2 million, up a little over 3%. Year over year. Kalama Valley was outpacing the whole island. Its median had climbed nearly 12% in the same 12 months. 4 months later, I wanted to come back and actually check whether that heat held up, because the answer is more complicated than you'd expect. And it's exactly the kind of thing the same buyer touring both Kailua and Hawaii Kai needs to understand before they make an offer. Right now, there isn't a single home under contract in Kalama Valley. Back in April, this pocket couldn't keep inventory on the market for more than a week and a half. Today, 0 pending sales. That's not a crash, and I want to be careful here. It's only 3 homes total that are even active or under contract right now, so we're talking about a small sample either way. But it's a real shift in temperature, and it's not just this one pocket. Homes for sale across all of Hawaii Kai have sat around 40 at any given time for a full year now, barely moving, while Kailua's active inventory has climbed over 12% in that same stretch. Hawaii Kai just isn't flooded with new listings the way some other parts of the island are. If the monthly payment is what's holding you back from a home like this, here's the most useful thing I can hand you. There are nearly 100 homes across Oahu right now, in every price range and every neighborhood, including several right here in Hawaii Kai and over in Kailua, where a buyer can step into the seller's existing loan instead of taking out a new one. Some of them locked in at 2 to 3%. I pull that full list from the MLS twice a month, and it's free. I'll tell you exactly how to get it before we wrap up. So let's actually walk through this house, because the layout has a surprise in it that I did not see coming the first time I toured it, and it's the kind of thing photos on a listing page just don't capture. The backyard itself has both an open area and a covered area, plenty of room for a dining table outside if you like to eat outdoors, which around here is most of the year. A single sale could swing this pocket's numbers hard in either direction, so it's worth not reading too much into any one week. That's exactly why the trailing 12 months, all 43 of those transactions, is the steadier number to actually shop off of, rather than whatever happens to be sitting on the market the day you start looking. Now here's where the original Bones piece connects back to the market data. Over the past year, 43 single-family homes in Kalama Valley were active, under contract, sold, or fell through. So this pocket sees a healthy amount of turnover, plenty to draw real conclusions from, rather than guessing off 2 or 3 sales. Downstairs also has what used to be a separate dining area, now opened up so the living room takes one side of the space and the dining area takes the other. A layout choice that makes the whole downstairs feel bigger than the square footage suggests on paper. And tucked on this level is a flexible room right by the entrance, close enough to the front door that it makes sense as a home office if you're working from home and want to keep work separate from the rest of the house, with built-in shelving that works well for papers and files. It's also the one bedroom on this level, so if stairs aren't something you want to deal with every day, this is your option for single-level living within the home. And the pattern here is mixed in a way. Cocoa Head Terrace, the neighborhood from the last video, was not. One home in this pocket sold, then resold for $400,000 more, a clean flip. But another canceled at $1.8 million, sat, relisted, and eventually sold for less than either of those numbers. Two new construction units here, priced well over $2 million, both canceled after sitting for nearly 7 months without finding a buyer. And one more home canceled once, relisted, and sold close to its original asking price, essentially flat. Zoom out across this entire pocket, and the numbers back up what that mix of outcomes is telling you. Over the past year, 8 of the 40 homes that came through Kalama Valley either canceled or expired without selling, right around 20%. Compare that to Cocoa Head Terrace, the neighborhood from the last video in this series, where a quarter of everything that came to market canceled or expired without selling. Kalama Valley is actually holding up a little better on that measure, but the gap isn't as wide as the neighborhood's reputation would suggest. And it's a reminder that even a tight, desirable pocket like this one isn't immune to a listing sitting too long at the wrong price. The difference here isn't really about desirability. It's about whether a seller priced for the market they remember from April instead of the market that actually exists right now. And that's true whether you're shopping this pocket, Cocoa Head Terrace, or anywhere else on this side of the island. The primary bedroom has vaulted ceilings and its own outdoor space off the second floor, plus a new split AC unit. And even in the hottest stretch of the year, it doesn't feel like it needs one. The primary bathroom has a shower, a single sink, a closet with shelving, and a setup where the toilet area closes off separately behind its own door. So it can either function as a half bath for guests without them walking through the bedroom, or stay connected privately to the primary suite depending on how you want to live in the space. So unlike the last video, where every renovated flip I found gained real money, Kalama Valley right now is telling you that a full renovation and a strong price aren't guaranteed, just because the neighborhood has a reputation for moving fast. Some homes here are still commanding a premium, others are getting canceled and coming back lower, and a couple of new builds haven't found a buyer at all yet. There are 2 more bedrooms upstairs, one that comfortably fits a queen bed with its own closet, and a third that shares a bathroom with a tub between the 2 of them. So whoever's in those 2 rooms doesn't have to fight over who gets the primary bath. There's also a generously sized linen closet on this floor, easy to overlook but really useful storage, the kind of thing you don't appreciate until you're the one without it. The homes that sold over the past year typically landed somewhere between $980,000 and $1.85 million, with a typical sale around $1.36 to $1.4 million. And this home is priced above that range at its current $1,650,000. That makes sense given it's a larger, more recently updated home than most of what's sold in this pocket over the past year. New flooring, new appliances, a remodeled bath, and that hidden room in a market that's cooled from where it was in April. That combination of size and recent updates is exactly what buyers should be weighing against the asking price. This home's own price history is worth sitting with for a second too. It went on the market originally at $1.7 million, and about a month in, the price came down $50,000 to where it sits now. That's not a huge cut in percentage terms, just 3%, but it happened barely a month into the listing, in a neighborhood that 4 months ago was seeing homes sell at 101% of asking inside 10 days. That kind of quick price adjustment on a home, this recently updated, tells you the seller is reading the current room correctly, rather than pricing off what this pocket was doing back in the spring. And it's exactly the kind of early, realistic pricing that tends to attract the buyers who are still actively looking here. On the tax side, the land here is assessed at just under $950,000, about 60% of the total value, with the improvements making up the other 40%, a noticeably higher share going to the structure than what we saw in the last video, where land alone made up 83%. That tracks with what you're seeing on this tour. This home has had real, recent work put into it, new flooring throughout, new appliances in the kitchen, a remodeled downstairs bathroom, a roof that's only about 5 years old, and updated landscaping, even if the overall renovation isn't as sweeping as a full gut job. It's a home that's earned a somewhat bigger share of its value from the structure itself, though the land is still doing more than half the work, same as almost everywhere else on this island. If you're trying to figure out whether a home like this is actually priced where it should be against what's selling and what's sitting in this neighborhood right now, that's exactly the kind of comparison I can walk you through directly, room by room and comp by comp, not just from a listing sheet. And if you want that list of nearly 100 assumable Oahu homes I mentioned earlier, some in the 2 to 3% range, across both Hawaii Kai and Kailua, just use the link in the description or reach out by text or email directly. Here's the clear-eyed read on Kalama Valley right now, 4 months after I first covered it. The desirability hasn't gone anywhere. This is still a tight, low inventory pocket of Hawaii Kai. And the same buyers who show up here also show up in Kailua, looking for the same mix of quiet streets and easy access to the water. But the certainty that everything here sells in 10 days at full price, that part has cooled. If you're the buyer, it means there's more room to negotiate here today than there was back in the spring, even in a neighborhood this desirable. And compared to what we saw in Cocoa Head Terrace last video, it also tells you that not every Hawaii Kai pocket rewards a renovation the same way. And now the room I mentioned at the start. Coming back down to the main living area, there's a door that looks exactly like a closet door. The first time I saw it, I assumed that's exactly what it was. Open it and there's an entirely separate staircase behind it, tucked away and easy to miss, leading up to a room that's been carved out above the garage. It feels like its own hideaway, fully separated from the rest of the house, with its own window, AC units keeping it cool. Here, the original bones and the location are doing more of the work than the remodel itself. One more video left in this series, and it's the one I've been looking forward to sharing with you the whole time we've been filming this comparison. We're heading to a marina front home in Hawaii Kai with its own private boat dock and a pool that looks straight out over the water. The kind of home that makes you understand exactly why people pay a premium to live on this side of the island. If you've been weighing Hawaii Kai against Kailua this whole series, that last video is going to pull the whole comparison together and show you where the real ceiling is on this side of the island. Here's one more piece of the Kailua versus Hawaii Kai picture worth knowing before we wrap up this comparison series. In the most recent month, new listings in Hawaii Kai jumped over 44%, and Kailua's climbed almost 28%, both outpacing the broader Oahu market, which barely moved. But stretch that out to the full year and the story flips. Hawaii Kai's new listings are actually down a little over 2% from a year ago, while Kailua's are up close to 4%. Zoom into the 3 and 6 month windows and it holds up. Hawaii Kai's new listings stayed completely flat over the past quarter and dropped almost 5% over the past 6 months, while Kailua's climbed close to 20% over the quarter and stayed essentially flat over 6 months. Kailua sellers have simply been more willing to list over the past year than Hawaii Kai sellers have. And that's the supply side reason a pocket like this one can go from selling in 10 days to sitting with 0 pending homes without any real drop in what buyers actually want. If you've been watching both sides of the island trying to time when to make a move, that gap is worth sitting with, and it's not a small one when you're deciding which side of the island to focus your search on. Hawaii Kai isn't about to flood with new inventory the way Kailua has been. So patience plays out differently depending on which side of this comparison you're actually shopping. Whichever side of this comparison ends up making more sense for you, Hawaii Kai or Kailua, original character or full renovation, I'd rather you make that call with real numbers in front of you than a gut feeling from one open house. I'm Oksana with Island Living Oahu. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.